Have you ever experienced that strange and almost frustrating shift where, at the beginning, everything feels electric and effortless? The messages flow like a river after heavy rain. The replies are instant. The conversations last until 2 a.m. But then, slowly and almost invisibly, something changes. Her responses become shorter. The energy becomes colder. The excitement fades like a fire that once burned bright but was suffocated by too much fuel. And you sit there wondering, what did I do wrong? The truth is, most men don't lose attraction because they didn't text enough. They lose it because they texted too much. Overtexting is like watering a plant 10 times a day. You think you're helping it grow, but instead, you drown the roots and kill the very thing you're trying to nurture. Attraction is not built through constant presence. It is built through emotional rhythm. Think about your favorite song for a moment. What makes it powerful isn't non-stop noise. It's the pauses, the build-ups, the silence before the beat drops. Without those pauses, the music would feel flat, predictable, and exhausting. Human attraction works the same way. When you text non-stop, when you reply instantly every single time, when you send paragraphs explaining your day in detail without her even asking, you remove the mystery, the anticipation, and the subtle tension that keeps emotional chemistry alive. And tension, not pressure, but emotional tension, is the oxygen of attraction. Many guys confuse effort with value. They believe that if they show more attention, more availability, more emotional openness right away, she will automatically feel more connected. But psychology doesn't reward overexposure. In fact, the human brain is wired to value what feels earned, slightly uncertain, and emotionally stimulating, not what feels constantly available and predictable. When you become too available too quickly, it's like opening all the pages of a mystery novel at once. There is no reason left to keep reading. In this video, we're going to break down the psychology behind why overtexting slowly destroys attraction, why space actually increases emotional desire, and how you can completely shift the dynamic without playing childish games or pretending to be someone you're not. Because this is not about manipulation. It's about understanding human nature. It's about understanding that attraction is less like a light switch, on or off, and more like a flame that needs air, space, and careful balance to keep burning. If you truly understand this principle, you will never look at texting the same way again. And what seems like a small habit, sending one extra message, replying 1 second too fast, trying to keep the conversation alive at any cost, can quietly change the entire emotional dynamic between you and her. So before you send that next double text, before you try to revive a dying conversation with another long paragraph, let's understand what is really happening beneath the surface. Because once you understand the psychology, you stop chasing attention, and you start creating attraction. Why overtexting quietly destroys attraction? To understand why overtexting weakens attraction, you have to understand one uncomfortable truth about human psychology. What is constantly available slowly loses perceived value. Not because it is bad, not because it is unattractive, but because the human brain adapts incredibly fast. When something becomes predictable, it becomes emotionally neutral. At the beginning, when you don't know when she will text you, when you're unsure what she will say, every notification feels like a spark. Your brain releases dopamine, curiosity rises, and your attention sharpens. Uncertainty creates excitement. But when you text her all day, when you respond within seconds every single time, when there is never a gap, never a pause, never a moment of wondering, you remove the uncertainty. And when uncertainty disappears, excitement fades with it. Overtexting is like turning a thrilling movie into a live stream that never ends. What once felt intense slowly becomes background noise. Another powerful psychological principle at play here is emotional pacing. Attraction needs rhythm. If you move too fast emotionally, sharing too much, investing too quickly, trying to build deep connection through constant texting, you create imbalance. And imbalance creates pressure. Even if you never say anything needy directly, your behavior communicates it. When you always initiate, always continue the conversation, always rescue the silence, you unconsciously send one subtle message. I need this interaction more than you do. And in attraction dynamics, The person who appears to need it more often loses the emotional advantage. This does not mean you should act cold. It means that when effort is not matched, attraction begins to tilt. Imagine holding a rope in a gentle game of tug-of-war. If you keep pulling while the other person barely holds on, the game stops being fun. It becomes heavy, forced, and uncomfortable. Overtexting creates that emotional heaviness. There is also something deeper happening beneath the surface. Something biological. The human brain is reward-driven. Rewards feel stronger when they are spaced out. If you eat your favorite dessert once a week, it feels special. If you eat it 5 times a day, it loses impact. Your attention works the same way. If your messages are constant, they stop feeling like rewards. They become routine. And routine rarely creates desire. Desire thrives in contrast. It thrives in moments of absence followed by presence. It thrives in the slight space between interactions where imagination begins to work. When she doesn't hear from you for a while, not in a dramatic way, not as a game, but simply because you have your own life, your own priorities, your own focus, her mind starts filling the gaps. Curiosity activates. Imagination activates. And imagination is far more powerful than explanation. When you overtext, you eliminate imagination. You explain everything. You narrate your entire day. You remove the mystery before she has a chance to wonder. And when there is nothing left to wonder about, there is nothing left to chase emotionally. Attraction is not built on constant reassurance. It is built on emotional movement, forward and backward, presence and space, connection and curiosity. When you understand this, you realize something important. Overtexting doesn't fail because you showed too much interest. It fails because you removed the emotional space where attraction grows. And without space, even the strongest spark slowly runs out of oxygen. The emotional investment principle. Now let's talk about one of the most powerful and least understood psychological laws in attraction. The person who invests more feels more. Attraction is not created by what you give. It is created by what the other person invests. Think of emotions like money in a bank account. Whoever deposits more becomes more financially attached to that account. If you are constantly depositing attention, energy, long messages, emotional depth, and reassurance, while she is only occasionally responding, you are the one building attachment. You are building the emotional balance. And the higher your investment, the harder it becomes for you to walk away. But here's where it gets interesting. The human brain values what it works for. Imagine 2 scenarios. In the first, someone hands you a trophy without effort. In the second, you train for months, sweat, struggle, doubt yourself, and finally earn it. Which one feels more meaningful? The second one. Because effort creates attachment. Now apply this to texting. If she doesn't have to initiate, if she doesn't have to wonder, if she doesn't have to risk sending that first message, she doesn't invest. And without investment, there is no emotional ownership. Overtexting is like building a house alone and then being surprised when the other person doesn't feel connected to it. Of course she doesn't. She didn't lay a single brick. Attraction grows when both people build the structure together. Another metaphor. Imagine you are watching a tennis match, but only one player is hitting the ball. At first, it might look active, but eventually, it becomes exhausting and meaningless. Real chemistry feels like rhythm. Back and forth, tension and release, effort and response. When you double text, when you rescue every silence, when you send another message just to keep the conversation alive, you remove her opportunity to step forward. And when someone never has to step forward, they never truly move emotionally. There's also something deeper happening neurologically. When someone waits for a reply, their brain starts simulating scenarios. Why hasn't he responded yet? What is he doing? Should I text him? That mental simulation is emotional investment. It's like planting seeds in the mind. But if you reply instantly every single time, if there is never a moment of pause, you remove the soil where those seeds grow. No pause, no imagination, no investment. Overtexting is like telling someone the ending of a movie before they've had the chance to feel the suspense. You destroy the emotional journey. And attraction is an emotional journey, not an information exchange. Many men believe that showing more effort equals showing more value. But effort without reciprocity becomes overextension. And overextension quietly shifts the power dynamic. The one who waits feels calm. The one who chases feels anxious. The one who invests less evaluates. The one who invests more hopes. And hope, when unbalanced, turns into attachment. This doesn't mean you should manipulate or calculate every reply. It means you should allow space for reciprocity. If you always carry the emotional weight, she never feels it. And humans connect deeply to what they carry. Think about friendships. The strongest bonds are not built by one person trying harder. They're built by shared experience, shared effort, shared emotional risk. Attraction works the same way. If she never risks losing you, she never feels the need to value you. If she never wonders about you, she never imagines you. And imagination is where attachment is born. So the goal is not to text less out of fear. The goal is to create balance. Because when both people invest, when both people lean in, when both people feel a little uncertainty, that's when attraction stops being forced and starts becoming natural. Scarcity, mystery, and the power of space. There is a principle in psychology that quietly governs attraction, desire, and even human motivation itself. And that principle is scarcity. Human beings instinctively value what feels limited. Not because limited things are automatically better, but because rarity signals importance. Think about oxygen. You never think about it when it is everywhere. But the moment it becomes scarce, it becomes priceless. Attention works the same way. If your time is unlimited, if your presence is constant, if your replies are immediate and predictable, your attention becomes background noise. But when your time feels intentional, when your presence feels chosen rather than automatic, when your replies feel thoughtful rather than reactive, your attention gains weight. Scarcity is not about disappearing to create anxiety. It is about having a life full enough that texting is not your main source of stimulation. When you are busy building your goals, improving your body, expanding your social circle, focusing on your mission, you are not forcing space. Space happens naturally, and natural space creates mystery. Mystery is like the shadow in a painting. Without shadow, the image looks flat. With shadow, depth appears. When she doesn't know every detail of your day, when you don't narrate every thought instantly, when conversations end while the energy is still high instead of dragging until boredom, you create emotional depth. Ending a conversation at its peak is like leaving a song before the final note fades. It lingers in the mind. Dragging it too long is like replaying the chorus until it loses impact. Mystery is not silence. Mystery is selective presence. It is speaking with intention, not impulse. It is choosing quality over quantity. Because attraction does not grow from constant exposure. It grows from emotional contrast, presence and absence, closeness and space, clarity and curiosity. When you understand this, you stop fearing silence. You start respecting it. Silence is not rejection. Sometimes silence is the space where attraction breathes. How to text without killing attraction. Now let's talk about what you should actually do. Not games, not manipulation, not pretending to be busy, but real behavioral shifts that change the dynamic naturally. First, stop texting from boredom. If you open your phone because you feel empty, anxious, or restless, your energy will leak through your messages. Texting should be an extension of a full life, not a replacement for one. When your day is productive, when your focus is strong, when your schedule has purpose, you don't text to fill time. You text to share energy. Second, don't chase the silence. If she takes time to reply, do not panic and send another message to revive the conversation. Silence is not a threat. Silence is a test of emotional stability. When you double text to fix discomfort, you communicate insecurity. When you stay calm and continue living your life, you communicate strength. Third, match energy. If she writes one paragraph, you can write one. If she writes short replies, keep yours short too. Attraction feels balanced when effort feels mirrored. You are not trying to impress. You are allowing reciprocity. Fourth, end conversations first sometimes. Not abruptly, not coldly, but naturally. Hey, I have to run. Talk later. Ending the interaction while the vibe is still good creates anticipation. It's like closing a book at an interesting chapter instead of reading until exhaustion. Fifth, focus on real-world connection. Texting should lead somewhere. A call, a meeting, an experience. Digital connection without real interaction is like smelling food without ever eating it. Eventually, it becomes frustrating and empty. And most importantly, build yourself. Because confidence in texting does not come from tactics. It comes from abundance. When you know your value, when you know you have options, when you know your life is moving forward with or without her, your energy changes. You stop trying to hold her attention. And ironically, that is when you become harder to ignore. Attraction is not built by chasing validation. It is built by embodying value. So before your next message, ask yourself, am I texting to impress? Or am I texting because I genuinely want to share something meaningful? When you shift from seeking approval to expressing presence, everything changes. Texting stops being a battlefield. It becomes a bridge. And when you understand rhythm, space, investment, and value, you don't need tricks. Because the right energy, calm, centered, self-respecting energy, always wins.